Oh boy, I wonder which manga I'm talking about judging from the thumbnail. But anyway, today I'm going to be talking about Tokyo Ghoul Re. I'm not necessarily going to be talking about the entire plot and everything, so I'm going to try to keep it spoiler free because I kind of want this to serve as a review. But if I do end up spouting some spoilers, I'm sorry, right? But yes, the manga I am talking about is Tokyo Ghoul Re, and I think it's an absolutely great manga. Now, granted, I've not read a lot of manga, right? So I feel like my standards for manga might be low, but I have seen a lot of entertainment pieces, and this one is highly up there, right? Would I call it a masterpiece? Not really, because it has some flaws which we will get into eventually. It has some pretty annoying flaws, but I'd like to start things on a positive note, and we're going to talk about everything that's good with Tokyo Ghoul Re. And I have to say, first of all, the artwork of Tokyo Ghoul Re is significantly better than Tokyo Ghoul. Now, Tokyo Ghoul towards the end got really, really good. Like the artwork of Tokyo Ghoul started basic, the manga obviously, but then towards the end it got really good. But Tokyo Ghoul Re's artwork is absolutely banging from the get go. From start to end, there is some insane illustrations by Sui Shida. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but it's absolutely incredible. Tokyo Ghoul Re has some of the most pleasing artwork to look at, and not that it really matters when you're reading manga, because sure, good illustration is nice, but then I don't know, it just makes it so much more nicer to read. So I think that was one main thing I wanted to get out. And let's talk about the first half of Tokyo Ghoul Re, because the first half of Tokyo Ghoul Re is on a fucking run, right? They absolutely kill it. I think the first 7 or 8 volumes, I don't know, till basically it's a couple of volumes where the story, everything about Tokyo Ghoul Re is absolutely fantastic. Like I've never seen such a strong first half. Okay, so I've read Berserk, and I think Berserk is the greatest, but that's the first manga I read. Even Berserk doesn't have such a strong first half as Tokyo Ghoul Re. Now, granted, Berserk is way longer, and it's kind of a stupid comparison because Berserk is better, but I think the first few volumes or the first 7, 8 volumes, somewhere around that, is absolutely incredible. That also might be due to the fact that you're probably reading Re after you finish reading Tokyo Ghoul. So it's basically like, it's the sequel factor which makes it that good. But oh my god, it really, really does hold up. It's incredible. And yeah, so basically the first half is really great. The characters, let's talk about the characters, right? The characters are good. There are some characters which are not that great, and there's a lot of characters. I don't know if this is a common thing in manga or in general, or I'm just not used to consuming entertainment as often, because oh my god, there is a lot of characters. Half the time you're just left wondering what the fuck, who is this? But that's really nice because every time they do come back after, like, say 1 volume or 2 volumes, they get a reintroduction, so for the people to remember, which I think is great. But the characters are really nice. Okay, I don't want to get into spoilers, right? But the characters are really, really fun. You do get attached to them. Arima is still my favorite character. Absolute hype train. Arima is like the hype train of the entire manga. Of course, okay, I'm not gonna go into spoilers, but my god, Arima does bring the oh shit, things are getting serious. About Kaneki as a main character, right? Now this might be weird, but I really, really liked Haze, which is basically like the before, like, no spoilers, but if you know what I'm talking about, you know. But Haze is basically before he goes back to Kaneki, and I really like Haze. Haze is basically if Ken Kaneki worked with the CCG from the very start, and I think that's great. I think that's why the first few volumes of the manga are so strong, because it almost feels like its own self-contained story in an alternate universe until you start getting, you start getting the connections back to the main manga, which is Tokyo Ghoul. But like, I think Ree does such an absolute amazing job of just making it feel like it's a whole separate alternate universe where things did not go the way they did. And I think it's wonderful. I think I think the entire volumes with Haze is probably the best volumes ever, because they just bring so much. The new characters are really great. The new characters are really great. I might even argue that some of the new characters are even better than the OG characters from the original manga, which I think is fantastic because the original manga had some strong characters. And of course, talking about original manga and the old characters, they do come back in Re, and they get even more depth to them. It's incredible. All the characters which you thought wasn't all that during the original, you get more to them in the sequel, and they hold strong. Tokyo Ghoul Re is it's great. Let's if you're talking about the messaging, it's the whole the whole Tokyo Ghoul anime and manga. I've not watched the anime of either because I've heard both of them are really bad. I watched like a few episodes of Re, but I decided not to continue because I was like, this is stupid. Why am I watching? Re? I mean, I might watch it eventually, but I was like, yeah, no. I just got bored, if that makes sense. But yeah, I've heard the anime of both is shit. Tokyo Ghoul, infamously, is known to be a very shit anime. The manga was great, but then Tokyo Ghoul Re, I don't think I would be able to handle a shit adaptation because the Re is pretty good. Anyway, so it's great. The whole messaging of ghouls versus humans and who's in the right and wrong. It's a very it's a good it's good when you're not exactly supporting one side all the time, right? Like that's how it's good. Like you can talk about anything you watch or read, or I guess you only watch or read things or listen to, I guess. But it's always nice when you have two sides, but then you never know which side really is in the wrong and really is in the right. Now, you could be biased and you could say this is unanimously right. But if you really think about if you were in that situation, it gets really good. And I love stuff like that. I love conflict between ideas. I just love it. Like, it's right up my alley. It makes sense to me. It's entertaining for me. And I just enjoy it. But other than that, yeah, it's really really fun. Okay, I'm itching to talk about the flaws because they are. I'm not gonna act like there's no flaws. There are flaws, and they're quite annoying, which honestly is what brings down the manga. So remember how I kept awing about the first half? The second half is not that good. Now that's mostly due to the fact that there is a lot of. Remember how I said good illustrations? That's cool, but then there's like fight scenes and there's like pages where there's too much happening, and this kind of correlates to my point about too many characters. That isn't even the main problem. There's so much happening on a single page where it's really hard to keep up, if I'm being very honest. Now, I don't know if I'm just really fucking stupid, but I can tell that, okay, this is not normal. You can't have a bajillion things happening. You get it? And it's a manga, so you have to read it in an order, which is the order reading I've gotten used to by now. But God, there's a lot happening. And the second half kind of takes like, it kind of gets, I don't want to say dragged on. Like, okay, it doesn't drag on. I don't feel Tokyo Ghoul Re is too long, right? I feel like it ends, like, as it's about to start getting a little dragged, it ends, which is good. Like, once you start to feel, okay, this is going a little too far, and then it ends, which you're like, okay, cool. But yeah, the second half is for some reason not that strong. Like, you get great character development moments from like some of the earlier characters I mentioned. Again, I'm not gonna be talking about the characters and their backstories. Like, I'm not doing a analysis of Tokyo Ghoul Re. I'm just talking from a review perspective, right? So other than that, it's not nice. And one big flaw, right? And I think this single-handedly is what made me not feel like, okay, Tokyo Ghoul Re is that good. They kill off characters, as any good piece of entertainment does, but the problem with them is they bring them back. And that's like a very common thing which happens in TV shows, not movies, but TV shows or anything which is extended, where you kill off a character and then you're like, oh shit, I did a wrong choice, and then you bring them back. That is common. The problem with Re is it does that a lot. It does that a lot. Like, you have a character which you adore, and then they kill him off, and you're like, fuck. And then they just come back like a few volumes later, and you're like, oh, I guess it makes their death so meaningless. I'm sorry, but it's not amusing to me. Like, okay, I'm not gonna talk which character specifically, but there is a scene with a character, or like a chapter dedicated to a character, where he literally dies a heroic death, and you're like, holy shit, this is really good. And then he just comes back in like the last volume, and you're like, oh, I guess that didn't make a lot of sense. And it does that so many times. It's almost like the character deaths don't even mean anything. After a certain point, they don't. You're like, oh, this person's dying, but knowing shenanigans of Tokyo Ghoul Re, they're probably gonna come back. And it's just been like that. And even like for any of you who've read the original manga, like even with the old characters, they do the same. The characters you thought you knew and loved died are like back now, and you're like, oh great. So I think that is probably the biggest upset of Tokyo Ghoul Re for me, where there's a lot of character deaths, but there's only like you can count on one hand how many of them are actually meaningful and how many of them, actually feel important. But yeah, I think that is what really brings Tokyo Ghoul Re down. Other than that, though, it is a great manga. Like I said, the first half is an absolute victory run. Like first half of Tokyo Ghoul Re, like the first 8 or 9 volumes is incredible, and the second half is also pretty good. I'm not going to say like the second half it sucks, because it doesn't. The story does get a little too, like I guess that happens with everything, where it starts affecting. It's not just a small city story anymore. It's like a big thing, big scale. Yeah, the scale increases massively, but I don't think that's a problem. I think that was just inevitable, considering in which direction the manga was going. But yeah, if I had to recommend it, I absolutely would. I honestly like Tokyo Ghoul Re way more than Tokyo Ghoul, which is like the original manga. But then that's also because I read the original manga, so I could enjoy Re more. So would I recommend Tokyo Ghoul in general? Absolutely. Read the original Tokyo Ghoul and read the sequel Re. But it's absolutely incredible. And I'm so unhappy that apparently it has a shitty anime adaptation, because there is some shit in the manga which would look absolutely incredible in good animation. Or just good adaptation. It doesn't have to be crazy, but apparently that's not there. Maybe one day I'll watch the anime and I'll review that as well, but that's not gonna be anytime soon. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If I did have to give a rating to Tokyo Ghoul Re, I think I would give it a solid 8. Like, I'm not even joking. I thought of giving it a 7, but I realized I enjoyed Tokyo Ghoul Re way more than I thought. So I would probably give it an 8 out of 10. It's a good manga. I would highly suggest you read it, because it's very, very entertaining. Of course, the flaws are very massive, for the reason why I just took off 2 points instantly, because it's very annoying. It happens a lot. It happens throughout the manga, and you kind of start getting pissed towards the end. But it's fine. But yeah, I think you should absolutely read Tokyo Ghoul Re. I had a great time reading it, and I think you will too. Hope you guys had a great day today. Hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.